Hi there, it is Jo from Minerva. Welcome to a little video where we're going to do a complete project. We're going to clone a t-shirt. Cloning an item is a really great way of making a ready-to-wear item that you've had for years and years and years that you can't get again and replicate it with your own sewing. You'll need to be thinking about seam allowances, you'll need a tape measure, and you'll probably need some tracing paper so that you can make your pattern pieces so that you can make it again and again. I'm wearing a jersey version of New Look 6217. It's supposed to be in woven fabric, but I like making it in jersey. I just make sure that my neckband is 10% shorter than the neck hole so that it brings everything in and stays really nice and flat. This is a bamboo cotton jersey. The fabric that I'm going to use for cloning my t-shirt is Minerva's French terry. It's absolutely gorgeous. The colour saturation on it is amazing. The stretch is really great, so it's perfect for t-shirts. Because it's not fleece backed, you can use it for t-shirts or sweatshirts or light sleeve, long sleeve t-shirts. You can make the billy dress in it. You can make any sort of stretchy dress, skirt, Marlowe cardigan, all of those kinds of things. There's lots of inspiration for this fabric if you search for it on the website. So I'm going to use this it's a large print, but I think I've got navy leggings that can be my exercise t-shirt to replace my black one with the hole in the front. Today I'm going to clone one of my t-shirts. Now actually it was quite difficult for me to find a ready-wear t-shirt. I've been sewing so much now that this is my last one from the shops. All the rest of my t-shirts are me made ones. So I think this one I use for exercise a lot. It's quite tight fitting, it's comfortable, it's not too tight around the arms, the neck comes up quite high. I use it in my measuring videos as well because it gives me sort of my natural silhouette. So we're going to have a go at cloning this t-shirt. Let's head over to the cutting table and I'll show you how to make the pattern pieces. You can clone and trace off your t-shirt straight onto your fabric. The only thing with that is it's slightly inaccurate. It's a bit more of a quick bodge, whereas if this is your t-shirt that you really like the fit of, then you might want to make it again and again. And if you make a pattern piece out of it with paper, then you can keep the flat pattern piece and you won't have to keep the t-shirt to do it again. Because if you clone from this, then clone from that, and then clone from the next one, then you'll start to get inaccuracies. So if this is the one that you like the fit of, then this is the one you need to make the paper pieces from. It also means you can square up all your pattern pieces, get your grain lines right. This is a ready-to-wear t-shirt, and of course you'll recognise that whole sort of cut off grain thing where when you line up the side seams it's not quite right, and you don't want to replicate that. You want to square up all of your pattern so that you get straight lines at the sides and down the centre front. So you need some Swedish tracing paper or big sheets of paper that you can copy your t-shirt onto. When you're doing any kind of pattern drafting, you normally use a really sharp pencil so that you can get a very accurate slim line, but I'm going to use a darker pencil so that you can see the lines. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to take a piece from the back. So I'm going to fold the t-shirt in half, align the shoulder seams. I know it's hard for you to see in black, it was the only t-shirt I had, and pin those together. The neck seams are aligned and the shoulder seams are aligned, and so is the sleeve head. Next we want to find out what the back shape is, and again this is where you'll find it's easier to do it on paper because I've got lots of folds in there because it's not cut on the grain. So I'm just going to have to take a slight estimate there. But I want to line up the bottoms of the sleeve. So I know this is going to be accurate and this is going to be accurate, and this not so much. It's a little bit difficult because of the poor grain line. So we'll cut a piece, and on our pattern piece we can then make sure we've squared it up with our ruler. I'm going to use the edge of the paper for my centre back fold because I know that's straight, and I'm going to draw the neck. Now I'm aware that I've got my neckband on there, but I just want to get the main shape and find the main point. So I've got my shoulder point here, my armhole point here, the bottom here, and the side seam here. I can now trace the shape. For the sleeves, we need to fold the sleeves back, and you're going to be following that seam line where your sleeve meets your top. You might just need to do it in dashes and then join up the lines afterwards. So that's the basic back shape. We're going to label it. So it's the back. We want to cut this on the fold. And at the moment, really the only line on here that is correct for cutting is the centre back fold. We need to manipulate a few of the other pieces. I've drawn it in with a Sharpie so that you can see it a little bit more clearly. This is the finished line of my t-shirt. This is the finished side seam. This is the finished armhole. This is the finished shoulder. Here we've got to do a little bit of measuring because we need to take off the width of the neckband so that we get the finished neckband seam. My neckband is 1 centimetre, so I want to take off 1 centimetre all the way around that neckline. And when I've drawn this in, this blue line represents my finished garment measurements. Now we need to think about our seam allowance. If you're going to sew your t-shirt on the sewing machine, then you can add a 1.5 seam allowance to the here. If you kind of know that you don't need fitting room, you could just add a 1 centimetre seam allowance if that's how you like to sew, with the edge of the foot running against the raw edge of the fabric. I'm going to use my serger, so I'm just going to add a really small seam allowance of 1/4 of an inch, just over 1/4 of an inch, all the way around. So the side seams I'm going to add with 1/4 of an inch. The shoulder seams I'm going to add 1/4 of an inch. And the same around the armhole. The neckline, I might just add a little bit extra because it's a bit fiddly to hold the neckband together, but I think I am going to put that on with the overlocker, so I'm going to put just a little bit bigger around here and draw them on. The hem, I need a little bit more, so I'm going to twin needle sew my hem. That's what I'm replicating here, and that is 1/2 an inch or 1.5. So now you can draw on your cutting line. My cutting line is in pink, my finished garment measurement is in blue, and now I can cut this out, and I will need to cut one on fold. If you want to notch it up, you can. If you want to show that this is the back, you can put 2 notches just so that you're sure when you put your sleeve in which way is which. In the corners, if you've used a larger seam allowance, you need to make sure that your pattern pieces have a little square in the corner. So they need a right angled square in the corner, because if you don't, then when you put your side seam together, if it kicks up, your armhole will be this shape. If it kicks down, your armhole will be this shape. If you've got them at right angles, your underarm seam will be this shape. It's not so critical with a serger seam allowance because it's smaller, but if you've got a wider seam allowance, you need to make sure that you've got a square in the corner. It's called squaring off. To cut the front, we can't just cut 2 of these because the neckline will be different. The arm sike might be slightly different, and there might be a little bit more fullness in the front. So this time we're going to give our t-shirt a shake, and we're going to fold it so that we can see the front. Join up the shoulder seams again. Repeat the process, but this time we're going to be tracing the front parts of the t-shirt. The neckline is different, so we are going to fold the t-shirt back and look for the front neck, and just like we did with the armhole, we're going to follow the line of the neckband. Same for the arms, but we want the front one, not the back one. So let's fold the t-shirt back. Just make sure we're still lining up with those key points. And this time we're tracing the front sleeve arm sike, not the back sleeve arm sike. Before you cut this one out, you want to check that your pieces are going to go together. So get your back one, just check. I'm a little bit short here on the shoulder, so I can make those two blend into each other. The back one is a bit less than the front one. My side length is a little bit unmatched. I'm just a little bit short on this shoulder corner, so I'm just going to put another piece of tape underneath and blend those in. You can add your notches to match, so you know that those two will exactly go together. You can add one front notch, a shoulder notch. If you want side ones, you can too. But this is where you make sure that when you cut it out of fabric, your pieces will go together. For the sleeves, fold a piece of paper in half so that you can lie your sleeve piece on top. Line up the shoulder seam part of the sleeve, so the halfway point of the sleeve, and you've got the underarm seam here. You can hold all that down and trace again. Make sure it's flat or you'll get a sleeve that's not the same shape. You can fold this back and draw in the arm, or you can go through with a wheel that cuts little spikes in the paper. When you've done that, you might need to take a little bit out of the back. So if you fold your piece in half and then in half again, between the top fold and the bottom fold, you can grade out a little bit of the paper piece because the back armhole is slightly different to the front armhole. It will really depend on your fabric. I've also noted anything else on the pattern, so I've added a 1.5 centimetre hem. I've got which is the front and the back and where the sleeve head is. So now we've got the sleeve, the front and the back, and I'm going to cut my neckband out when I've put my top together. So once I've put the t-shirt together, I'm then going to measure the neckband and then cut out the piece for that. I don't want to do it now. I can't be massively accurate. It's much easier when I've got the actual fabric that I'm fitting the neckband to. Okay, it's time to cut out my fabric, sew it up, and then I'll come back to you with the finished t-shirt and we can have a look at the sizing. Once you've cut your pattern, you can put it together. I made overlocker seam allowances when I made this t-shirt, so I'll be making mine up on the overlocker, whizzing my way through and getting a new t-shirt in no time at all. Once you've got your t-shirt together, you can measure for the neckband. So walk your tape measure around the front neck. Collect that measurement, which is 27 centimetres. Then flip your t-shirt over and then measure for the back neck. Same again, walking the tape measure along. Just make sure that the shoulder corner isn't folded over. Get an accurate measurement. This one is 22 centimetres. We're going to add them together to get our total length. We need to take off 10% of that neckband. So my neckband will be 44 centimetres. I need to also add a seam allowance. So 44 centimetres plus 1 centimetre for my seam allowance to join the two ends. So I'm going to go and cut a strip of 45 centimetre fabric. I'm going to put a label in, so I just use a glue pen to hold the label in place, especially because I'm using the serger. Stick that on so it doesn't move around, and then I can start putting my neckband on. So I've found the shoulders, then I can fold it in half and find the centre front, and then I'm distributing the fabric more around the front and less around the back. This should avoid any puckers or wrinkles. Pin the rest of the top in place, just taking in the ease. If you want to know more about making a neckband, you can try some of our other videos. We've got a flat neckband and a round neckband. I've done a twin needle finish on here, so it looks really professional. I've got my label, it's still nice and stretchy, and now it's time to sew down the side seams and along the hem. Okay, so this is my original t-shirt, and this is my new t-shirt. So I've got quite a long length because I want to wear it under my dungarees, and I also want to wear it as my exercise yoga t-shirt with my leggings. The sleeves are just right. They were before. Shoulder heads are just right. And I have my twin stitching. So the fit is great. Just like the last one. And now I can make lots of these t-shirts. When you clone a t-shirt, you need to be using a fabric that has a similar amount of stretch to your original. Otherwise, you will have too much negative ease. So you need to make sure that if you use a viscose jersey, for example, that's really drapey and stretchy. So you would have a slightly easier fit t-shirt. This one is nice and snug like my original one, but so you need to have a fabric that's similar to your original garment. The advantages of cloning something of your own is you can make them better. So I've got twin needle stitching here. I don't have the twists in the seam. I've got everything on grain. I can change the fit. So if I had something that had a really nice neck and shoulder fit, but I wanted to make it a little bit bigger around the bust, for example, I could do a small bust adjustment or a full bust adjustment. If you've got a top that you like the length of, but the sleeves are too tight, you could do a bicep adjustment. You can change the length of things. You can put slits in the side. You can add extra details and start hacking. And because I traced mine onto paper, not directly onto the fabric, then now I've got my t-shirt block and I can do whatever I want with that. So I could cut it off here. I could add a flounce or a gathered hem. I could make the sleeves longer. I can change the neck. So keep your t-shirt clone pattern, because that is now your t-shirt pattern block. I know that this t-shirt is going to fit me for quite a long time now, because I pre-washed my fabric, which is something you can't do with your ready-to-wear garment. You might get a little bit of shrinkage and twisting in the fabric, but if you make it yourself on grain with a pre-washed fabric, you should get more life out of your garments. Well, if you'd like to know anything else about cloning, do leave a message in the comments below. So if you want to know about something else that you'd like to copy, or you want to ask a question about how to copy a garment, then maybe that would help us for another video. We would love to see what you've been making, so do make an account with us, share your makes. It's free to join the Minerva website, and you can browse all of our sewing tutorials, pattern pairing, chit chats, sew alongs, fabrics, haberdashery and patterns. Thank you very much for watching. See you again soon.